welcome to the Megacast. I'm Tyler Keefe alongside Erica Jones in the studios of our flagship stations, Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM. In addition, today, as always, we're on Birmingham Area Municipal Access, both for our cable television stations, Comcast, Channel 15, and AT&T, Channel 99. We're also on the radio on 88.1 WBFH, The Biff, out of Bloomfield Hills. On the web, civiccentertv.com. Just click on our Watch Live link or join us at the small play at the top right of our homepage on your computer web browser. We're also on Facebook, facebook.com/CivicCenterTV15 and facebook.com/LakesFM, as well as on My Michigan Television, or My TV. It is a Michigan streaming network that is all content from around the state of Michigan. You can find it on the web, mymitv.com. You can also find it on your smart TV and your smartphone app stores as well. And you can watch content from all across the Great Lakes state anytime, anywhere. And it is free to subscribe. My Michigan Television, mymitv.com, as we go through all of the latest information about COVID-19 and more on this very spooky Friday the 13th here all across the state of Michigan. Now let's get into the headlines and enough of that silliness. At our website, civiccentertv.com/coronavirus, where you can also find reputable resources to information about COVID-19 from the Centers for Disease Control, the state of Michigan, Oakland County, and many of our local municipalities, because while it is Friday the 13th, nothing is scarier than misinformation and disinformation in the times that we're living in. So we give you direct sources to those resources on our website, civiccentertv.com/coronavirus, as well as our top headlines for the day as kids prepare to go back to school and families prepare to send their kids back to in-person learning to kick off the school year for the first time in 2 years to start a school year. The Michigan pediatricians are calling for universal mask mandates in schools and in preschools. This is from the Detroit News. This is Craig Mauger. An association that features more than 1,500 Michigan pediatricians is recommending that everyone older than the age of 2 wears masks in school this fall, regardless of their vaccination status. The Michigan chapter of the American Academy of Pediatrics issued the guidance on Thursday amid increases in COVID-19 infections and hospitalizations that could mark the beginning of a fourth surge in the state. Meanwhile, most Michigan schools will reopen for the new year in the coming weeks, spurring debates about mask and vaccination policies. In a quote from Dr. Sharon Swindle, a pediatrician and past president of the Academy's Michigan chapter, the recommendation for universal masking of all children older than 2 years old is one of multiple measures to reduce transmission in the school setting. The good doctor continued, currently children under age 12 do not have the option to be vaccinated. Vaccination rates remain low in 12 to 18-year-olds. Some members of the school community cannot be vaccinated due to underlying medical conditions and immune system conditions as well, end closed quote. The organization issued a statement on Thursday saying increases in COVID-19 infections, hospitalizations, and deaths have concerned medical and education professionals who quote-unquote, wish to bring children back into classrooms while minimizing the risk of COVID-19 outbreaks, and close quote. On Tuesday, the Michigan Board of Education voted in favor of a resolution supporting independence for local school districts to make, quote, scientifically informed decisions, and closed quote, including, and another quote, mandates for universal masking at all school facilities and events for students, teachers, and visitors. Michigan's Governor Gretchen Whitmer and her administration has also recommended universal masking in K-12 school buildings, but the ultimate decisions are being left up to the individual school districts. A fourth surge in COVID-19 is possible in Michigan and as many as 6,000 more residents could die because of the virus this fall, according to a presentation released on Wednesday by the state's Department of Health and Human Services. Experts are tying the increase in cases and hospitalizations directly to the more contagious Delta variant. As it stands, Michigan's current COVID-19 metrics are in a worse position than they were 1 year ago as schools were preparing to start their terms. On August 11, 2020, the state reported 796 new cases. On Wednesday of this week, the state reported a 2-day case average that from Monday and Tuesday of that week of 1,393 new cases per day. And Erica, as schools are preparing to go back in the fall and as districts are modifying their plans and their rules and regulations for their staff, their faculty, and their students, the Delta variant continues to be the major point of concern. We'll speak to Ashleigh Larkin later on this hour. She's the new principal at our neighbors right here on campus over here at Sheiko Elementary, where we're located, and get her take on this. But this is something that is of great concern, certainly to parents as they're preparing to return their kids to school, but with administrators as well, who not only need to keep, of course, the safety of their students top of mind, but also the safety of their staff and their faculty and everybody associated with everyone that goes into those school buildings.
Yeah, we talk to educators on this show almost daily, multiple times a week for sure. And as we've seen, they don't have necessarily a mandate one way or another as if they have to make their students wear masks. So even with this headline of recommendations from the governor and from pediatricians that they should be wearing masks, even though it's not a mandate, I definitely think it'll help give those superintendents a little more guidance, because if they see a recommendation from a higher authority, I would think that it would have an impact on what they're going to do. And again, like you said, we'll talk to Ashleigh Larkin coming up in the first hour of our show about this to see her thoughts on it. But I would think that if anything, this is going to be helpful and definitely help redirect educators' plans and guide them to more specific measures that they want to take as far as mask wearing goes, where these past couple weeks it's been very, very wishy-washy, not very clear what they should do or what they're going to do. Maybe this will give them some direction.
Yeah, this is going to continue to be a big point of debate as we get closer to the beginning of the school year. Some schools across the U.S. have already entered the school year, and there's been some varying situations throughout the U.S., whether it be an increase in cases in the schools immediately, some that have started and then immediately stopped in-person learning because of the spread of COVID-19. And there's a real big concern here in terms of preventing the spread. It is thinking about those schools that are on the lower end of the K through 12 schooling, because kids under 12 years old are not currently eligible to be vaccinated against COVID-19 with the available vaccines here in the United States. So there's a lot to consider. There are a lot of factors that are going into this, and it's going to continue to be a major point of debate as our school districts prepare for the beginning of the year, as parents make final decisions for what's best for their kids going back, and as communities do their part in trying to prevent further spread of COVID-19 and curb this uptick in cases. Not on the COVID-19 front, but definitely something that's top of mind here throughout the state of Michigan, especially in southeast Michigan in the wake of the most recent storms earlier on this week. DTE and Consumers Energy are saying power may not be restored until next week for some people in southeastern Michigan. This also from our friends at the Detroit News, and you can find a link to the full article on civiccentertv.com/coronavirus. The state's top energy providers warned on Thursday as nearly 714,000 customers were without power across southern Michigan, that some might not have electricity until the middle of next week, prompting calls by local leaders for further explanation of the high number of outages in Metro Detroit. DTE Energy estimated 700,000 customers had been affected by 2 waves of severe weather and said crews had restored power to more than 150,000 by Thursday night. More than 1,800 DTE personnel and another 1,000 out-of-state line workers were involved in restoration efforts, officials said. The utility did say, quote, it is targeting to have more than 80% of its customers restored by the end of the day Saturday, and that the vast majority of outages, around 95%, should be restored by the end of the day on Sunday, and closed quote. High winds were a big part of the problem. DTE is repairing 3,100 downed power lines, broken poles, and tree-related damages. Nearly 535,000 customers were in the dark early on Friday. At one point, more than 850,000 customers lost power across the state due to the storms earlier on this week on Wednesday. Consumers Energy, meanwhile, reported that at 6 a.m. on Friday, more than 160,000 customers were without electricity. Contractors and crews from 7 states have helped restore power to some of the 371,000 who had been affected since storms started on Tuesday night, the company reported. In a quote from the company on Thursday, over 553 and 4-person crews, my apologies, remain at work around the clock and will work through the night heading into Friday. They continued on their goal, restore power to most homes and businesses by late Saturday night and finish almost all of their work by the end of the weekend. Most Consumers Energy customers who don't have power were expected to have electricity restored by Saturday, but some outages will last further into the weekend, said Garrick Rocho, the president and CEO of the utility. One community's mayor and legislator called for DTE to explain the level of outages. Farmington Hills Mayor Vicki Barnett said the utility promised in 2007 to complete tree trimming within 5 years. It did not happen, she has said. In a quote, Mayor Barnett said, quote, "What we were told will happen and what they deliver is very different," end closed quote. She said the city is considering pursuing a formal complaint with the Michigan Public Service Commission, and she was quoted by saying, quote, "We need a stable grid people can rely on where power doesn't go out every time it rains." And so people definitely frustrated with the power situation, as with the major storms we've had recently, and even with some not as severe storms, not as impactful storms, we've had a lot of these sudden outages or partial outages. We've experienced it here at Green Media Center and in the general area of our building over the past month or so, and it's frustrating. And it's frustrating for a lot of people when you have hundreds of thousands of homes and businesses that are without power after a severe storm, when it is a delayed response, when you do have to bring in so many extra people from out of state, and then on top of that, when you have such frequent power outage issues, it's going to become something that gains more focus of local legislators, more focus of local leaders, and becomes a greater frustration. And if we're going to continue to see severe weather like this become more of the norm as we continue to battle through climate change issues, and it's a whole different debate, then this is going to continue to be a topic of frustration. And I think at this point, people want more answers from these utilities about what can be done on a community level, what can be done from these utilities also to address this issue, and maybe if they can't prevent all of these outages, prevent such frequent outages when we have severe weather.
Mm-hmm. Like I said yesterday, I'm very fortunate, even though I live 2 steps away almost. I haven't had to deal with any power outages, knock on wood. But even yesterday when I was leaving here, I was listening to the radio and I was hearing DTE making PSAs, basically just saying, "Thank you for your patience. We are working tirelessly 24 hours a day to get your power back." But then hearing they may, it might not be until next week. I mean, I know everyone has their own life situations. People are dealing with stuff, but that just makes me think, I'm going back to school next week. I can't imagine for packing and everything, not having power all weekend up until when I leave for school. And that's just my own personal situation, but everyone has their own life situations and different things they need to deal with. And not having power for a week or even more so is just challenging. I can't imagine having to deal with that, and I'm very fortunate that I don't right now.
And certainly the frustrations have to be amplified because of the conditions we're in right now, where so many people have been over the course of the last year and a half plus that we've been in this pandemic, been working at home. And now that's becoming more of the norm in many different facets, where people are working at home. People are being educated at home, whether they are college students or they're educating their kids and holding their kids' education at home during the pandemic and doing virtual learning. There's so much more that's being done in the home that requires electricity that a situation like this can really throw off. All of a sudden, if your power is out for several days, that's several days that you may not be able to work, especially in a situation where we have right now with COVID-19, with the Delta variant in the state of Michigan, where offices may not allow people in mass to come in to their office, even if they are masked up, even if they are vaccinated, and maybe requiring at-home work. And if your home is out of power and you can't find somewhere with power and reliable internet because it's all out in your local area for a significant amount of time, all of a sudden this power outage, which is usually a minor inconvenience that's temporary, becomes a major inconvenience and something that's going to make the situation that much more frustrating for people. You can read that entire article from the Detroit News on our website, civiccentertv.com/coronavirus, as well as the rest of our headlines. And lastly, today we've begun to get the results of the 2020 United States Census. And from Bridge Magazine, this article goes over some of the census takeaways. West Michigan gains, Detroit and the UP lose, and the state has become more diverse. This from Bridge Michigan Magazine. West Michigan keeps growing, Detroit is still shrinking, and the state is getting more diverse, and more residents than ever before say they belong to two or more racial groups. The United States Census Bureau on Thursday released new local-level population and demographic data from 2020, providing the most comprehensive snapshot to date of how the country has changed since the last census in 2010. The numbers confirm prior findings. Michigan's population grew by 2% to 10,077,331 residents, the second slowest rate in the nation. Michigan is the 10th most populous state, down from 8th in 2010, passed now by Georgia and North Carolina. The new data, delayed for months, in part due to challenges associated with the pandemic, will help Michigan's new independent redistricting commission redraw political boundaries for 2022 as the state loses a congressional seat due to the population changes. Michigan will have 13 districts next year. But it's more about than just the election cycle. All told, the 2020 census data will, quote, be used for the next 10 years to shape the future of our country, end close quote, said Acting Census Bureau Director Ron Jarman Thursday in a virtual press conference. He continued on by saying, quote, local leaders can use this data to make decisions such as where to build roads and hospitals, how to help our nation recover from the pandemic, and more, end close quote. He said, and continued on, it also helps inform how hundreds of billions of dollars in federal funds will be distributed each year. In the coming days, Bridge, Michigan will explore the 2020 census and what it means for the state, but there are a few takeaways from Thursday's release that highlight the changing landscape of Michigan and its over 10 million residents, and that's all marked in this article as well. But here are some of the basic details from this article from Jonathan Osting and Mike Wilkinson of Bridge Magazine. Along the shore of Lake Michigan, Ottawa is the state's fastest growing county over the past decade, growing by 12.3% to 296,200 residents. Kent County was the third fastest growing county at 9.2% growth, reiterating the West Michigan population boom that Bridge Michigan reported earlier on in the week. 50 Michigan counties lost population over the past decade, including several along the southern border of Ohio, in the Thumb region, in the Northeast, Lower Peninsula, and most dramatically in the UP. Michigan's biggest city, Detroit, lost 10.5% of its population, falling to just 639,111 residents. Mayor Mike Duggan, who has repeatedly said he should be judged on whether the city gains population under his leadership, questioned the data and claimed Detroit was undercounted, quote, by at least 10%, end closed quote. Michigan, like most of the country, appears to have grown more racially diverse over the past decade, although census officials say that may be partially attributable to new questions posed to residents. In 2020, 76.7% of Michigan residents identified as white and non-Hispanic, down from 80.1% in 2010. That's 274,288 fewer residents, a 3.6% decrease, a larger drop than the 2.6% reduction nationwide. Only 11 Michigan counties became more white over the past decade, led by some of the fastest growing counties, such as Ottawa, Grand Traverse, and Allegan. The share of white residents in the UP's in one of the UP's counties fell by 17%, making one of the state's fastest shrinking regions also one of its fastest diversifying. And so this data will continue to be dissected in the coming days as more people are looking over it, as the state's trying to figure out different things to do with state funding, with federal funding, and as we learn more about what Michigan's future looks like. And that's the whole purpose of the census every 10 years, is to get that snapshot. Of course, most significant information that we learned in the past few weeks as this data began to be released was the losing of one congressional seat from the state of Michigan. And the biggest thing that this is going to impact is that independent redistricting commission that will redraw the lines of the state's now 13 congressional districts as we head into a 2022 election year that is certainly going to be just as competitive as 2020 here on the state level.
Absolutely. And just another takeaway that I got from this, more I don't want to say small scale, that's not the case, but just another thing is that it's definitely good to see that Michigan is becoming more diverse, which is something that we were able to gain from this census, because that is something that we're seeing everywhere. And I just think, especially within the past year and a half, that's just one thing that we've been much more open to as a nation and locally everywhere is accepting diversity. So any diversity we can see in our local area and around the state is definitely a good thing. And I definitely think that's going to continue to be a trend that we're seeing as the years go on.
All that information and more on our website, civiccentertv.com/coronavirus. And in addition to our daily headlines, Monday through Friday, before our shows, you can also see important information all day, every day from our resources from the Centers for Disease Control, the state of Michigan, Oakland County, and many of our local municipalities in southeastern Michigan. civiccentertv.com/coronavirus. It is your direct source to reputable information about COVID-19 and more from throughout the state of Michigan and across the country as we continue to navigate the situation here with the COVID-19 pandemic. We have a great show for you here on this Friday, the 13th edition of the Oakland County Megacast. After the break, we'll speak to the new principal of Sheiko Elementary here in West Bloomfield. Later on in the hour, we'll speak to our friends over at City Dog Biscuits. And then in the 11 o'clock hour, we'll speak to several Birmingham High School students about a special project they are undertaking. And then later on in the show, Dan Carmody, the president of the Eastern Market Partnership, joins us, and we'll finish off the show with a couple of officials from Viewspire. That all coming up next on the Megacast across the state of Michigan on our family of television, radio, and other media outlets. The Megacast returns after this.
Here's one more reason to get the COVID-19 vaccine. It's your shot to win. Anyone 18 years or older in Michigan vaccinated between December 1st, 2020 and July 30th, 2021 is now eligible to win millions in cash prizes, including million-dollar jackpots and $50,000 daily prizes. And vaccinated students could win thousands in college scholarships. For eligibility details and to enter, go to mishottowin.com.
Can I ask you a question?
Why did you get your kids vaccinated?
It was hard for them to social distance, to be isolated from their friends.
I want them to get back to school and sports games. So as a pediatrician, I recommend the vaccine to everyone I know.
The boys lost a former teammate and classmate who was only 20 years old. It's been a devastating year.
We want to get back to normalcy. Our daughter is really looking forward to being with her friends, being a kid.
Can I ask you a question? Why did you get vaccinated?
I'd like to go to these school dances and spring break to have fun.
I want to be in person for college next semester.
I want to get out of this pandemic.
I wanted to protect the people around me.
Why did you get vaccinated?
Because I'm really looking forward to hanging out with my friends.
I just want to go to a show, dance around, not have to worry about anything, feel like I'm free again.
So we can not miss out on the best years of our life.
Hello and welcome back to the Megacast. I'm Erica Jones on this Friday morning, Friday the 13th. I actually completely forgot that it was Friday the 13th until Tyler mentioned it. So I'm going to try not to think about that for the rest of the day because I would have loved going the whole day without realizing it was Friday the 13th. But anyway, with it being Friday the 13th in August, school is right around the corner. I can't believe it. I still feel like I got home from Miami yesterday. I can't believe I'm going back in a few days. And with me going back in a few days, public schools and grade schools are starting back up within the next couple weeks. So here to talk to us about that, we have the new principal at Sheiko Elementary School, Ashleigh Larkin. Good morning. How are you? Congratulations on this new position.
Hi, thank you. Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Of course. So let's talk a little bit about this new position because in the past few years since I was in high school, you have really just done everything. So how did you go from being head of schools at Oakland Early College to now the new principal at Sheiko Elementary? Talk about this transition a little bit.
Sure. So, to start, it's a transition that I'm really excited for. I have absolutely loved being in West Bloomfield School District. So I started my career here 11 years ago and was at the high school for quite some time and then moved to OEC. And obviously being at the high school and being at OEC, I worked with all secondary students. So grades 9 through 13 at OEC. And then with the restructuring in the district and the promotions of Sonia James at Chico and Scott Long at Doherty to central office. It opened up 2 elementary positions in the district. And so it was an opportunity to really, try something new. And I'm really excited to be in a new spot with a new grade level. And so I'm just really looking forward to the start of the school year.
Yeah. So your experience for the past 11 years, which, wow, I cannot believe it's been that long that you've been around. You're so young still. It is crazy. But that just shows you have so much further even to go in your career. So this is so exciting for you. I'm so excited for you. But you've worked mostly with 14 to 18-year-olds. So what does it mean to you to now be working with elementary schoolers? Is that something that you have had experience with in the past, or is it completely new for you? And what does that mean to you?
So I haven't had direct experience with it. The closest I've had experience with working with elementary students is when I taught my student leadership class at the high school. We did something called Elementary Connections. And so our leadership classes would go to the different elementary schools, and we would go into the classrooms and work with the students. And we also started a program at the high school. Really, it was spearheaded by Pat Watson and Lisa Tompkins, Ron Bellamy, and some others, called Game Changers, where we had high school mentors going to different elementary schools and working side by side with students. So in terms of working directly with elementary students, that really has been the extent of my work up to this point. The way that I look at it is kids are kids. And they have different needs at different times. But no matter what, I'm someone who's kid-centered, who believes in students and believes that no matter what age, we have a responsibility to form relationships with them, get to know them, help them grow socially, emotionally, academically. And so it's a different age group for sure. I'll be exploring, a lot of different things that my students are interested in and getting to know them, which is really exciting for me. But I think one of the great things about having that secondary experience first is that I know ultimately where we want to get students in West Bloomfield School District. So just knowing, where students go at that point, I've seen the end of their educational journey in the district. And so it's exciting to know that I can bring that expertise and knowledge and help mold them from grades 3 through 5 all the way on up. And then in addition to that, we have an amazing staff here at Chico. And so I know I have a ton to learn, but I am relying very much on their support. And I know that they will help me learn the ropes at the elementary level.
Yeah, it's interesting you mention it, and you definitely have a great perspective, almost working backwards, where you've seen the end, you've seen our students graduate and go off to college, and now you get to work with them in the building phase to get them to that point, and you know what they can look like. So you definitely have a vision that educators wouldn't be able to have if they started working with this grade level at the very beginning. But with that, at this point in time, what are your main goals for this position? What things do you want to implement that maybe we haven't seen in the past at the elementary school level?
Great question. So, the first things first, I will say it's going to be a very, I think, different but exciting year than what we've had in previous years. I think we learned a lot from last year. And so, the first thing is going to be, how are we supporting students socially and emotionally in school as well as staff? We've had a long, when you said actually that it's Friday the 13th in August, it made me think, oh my gosh, it's actually 18 months to the day that we went out because of the pandemic. And so I just think that number one is going to be, how are we supporting all of our individuals within the school building as they're returning to a school year where we're 5 days a week, full-time in person. So that's ultimately going to be number one. Building relationships. Relationships are at the heart of everything we do. So building relationships with the students, with the staff at Chico, with the Chico families and community. So that will definitely be a priority. And then just really evaluating where we're at academically and how we're helping our students grow. Looking at how we're planning lessons based on state standards and bringing in different learning targets. And so those will be my 3 major focus areas for the school year.
So I know personally one thing that you've always been very good at and put a lot of time and effort into is the personal relationships you have with your students. And it's been definitely a different experience. Like we talk about working with different age groups. Obviously, you're able to relate more with some of the older teenagers than you will be with these younger kids as young as 5 years old. But I would think that that's something you're very passionate about, and you're definitely going to want to have these independent relationships still with students. So have you thought at all about how you're going to try to relate to these students on a level that you would with older students, but knowing that they're 5 to 10 years old? I'm thinking, is that the elementary school age, right? Something like that?
Yeah, so Chico's a 3rd through 5th grade building. So they're a little bit older than the kindergarten kiddos. But I think first and foremost, no matter what the grade level, I think building relationships starts with learning about each individual student. So what do they like? What are their interests? What's their favorite thing to eat? I mean, what are they watching on TV? What type of music do they like? So for me, it's going to be that visibility. It's going to be getting into classrooms and working with students one-on-one as they're working with their teacher and just really learning and getting to know about them. My daughter is 3 now. So I think one of the exciting things for me is I'm kind of walking this journey with her. And I think I'll be able to, as she grows older, relate even better to my students at Chico. But no matter what age, again, I really think it just comes down to being visible, talking with students constantly in the classroom, in the hallway, at recess, being there, for bus drop off or car drop off to say, how's your morning? How you doing? Is there anything I can help you with? So those are really going to be the most important things that I think I'm doing. And I think all of our staff are doing to start the school year.
Yeah. And you are taking over this position from Sonia James, who's been in the district for a very long time. I know she was my principal back in middle school, which seems like so long ago now. But what has your dialogue been with her up until this point about what the position is like and what it will be like? What's some insight that she's given you?
Yeah, first of all, she's absolutely amazing. I'm so happy that she will still be in the district and that I can call on her as needed for advice and support. She has been nothing but supportive in this transition. Her and I have been able to meet, and she has walked me through, certain things that I need to know. But I think one of the amazing things and wonderful things about Miss James is that she's a relationship person. I mean, she is so relationship driven and knows that is what really needs to happen in order for everyone to build a team and to function well together. And so I think that that's been the ultimate advice, is just being out there and getting to know everyone on a personal level, not just a surface level. And so, like I said, that's really my number one goal. And I'm so happy to have her support still. She's a wonderful resource, and I know she'll be amazing in her new position. So really glad that she's still in the district to help support our journey.
That is fantastic. So I like to avoid conversations about COVID as much as I can at this point. I want to talk about other things going on, new and exciting things. But unfortunately, it's inevitable that it has to come up a little bit. So we got the opportunity to sit down with Dr. Hill yesterday, and we talked about the protocols with mask mandates. And we know that at this point, there are no requirements on students wearing masks. It's highly encouraged, but not required. But just this morning, in our headlines, we have that the CDC and Governor Whitmer announced that administration is recommending, and pediatricians, that all students do wear masks. And like I said, this was just this morning we're reading this, so I don't know if any of you administrators in the district have even had the opportunity to talk about this yet, but what are your thoughts going into this school year with mask wearing? Is that something that you're going to enforce, or is it only Dr. Hill enforcing it, and then each, with that, every teacher and every person can make their own decisions? What's that going to look like for you?
Yeah, so that's a great question. And, things are changing so rapidly, and every day I feel like we're hearing new information. And so that's what I love about the district plan, is that it allows for flexibility. At the level that we're at, it is mask strongly recommended, but there also is a recommendation that the district will consider a mask mandate if the data supports it at that time. And so we haven't heard any updates yet based off of what came out this morning, but that option is in there. And I think that that's one thing we learned from this entire last year that we just experienced, is that we have to have the option for flexibility. To just say that it's going to be one way or the other, Sometimes we made a decision and then 3 days later, new information would come out and we were changing the plan based on that new information. So to have the flexibility, I think, is really important. Again, like you said, at this level, mask wearing is strongly encouraged. And so that's what we'll do. We will strongly encourage that for all staff and students. And that's where we're at right now. So as time goes on and more information comes out, I believe and trust in the district wholeheartedly to make the best decisions for our staff and our students and families.
Yeah. So on to some of the more fun things of being in elementary school and getting to be back in person and forming those essential relationships that you really can't build anywhere else, especially when you're that young. You're not driving over to your friend's house after school. So that time you have in the classroom is so, so important. But one thing that I do have very fond memories of from when I was in elementary school is after school programs that I would do. I know I would do like soccer clinics or dance, theater classes, stuff like that, just, I don't know, once a week, hour long after school. Is that stuff being brought back or is that on hold still?
Yeah. So first of all, I love that you have fond memories of that. That just makes me so excited to hear that you still remember those times. So those things are absolutely essential. And I think it's really important for community building that we're still hosting events like that. And so we will be doing some of those events, as long as everything is allowing for them to happen. But we do have a wonderful PTO. PTO has already coordinated. We have skate nights on the calendar and some different activities that will be taking place each month. So as long as our current status health-wise supports us doing those things, we will absolutely do those things because, like you said, they're really essential to that full elementary experience.
Yeah. And something even more essential for students, what about, this is something I don't know a lot about, you're gonna have to help me because I never was involved in it, but after school kids club, for those who might have parents now that are working again and can't be there to pick them up, or even if they take the bus home, aren't home, and kids at this age can't stay home by themselves. Is kids club still gonna be, or not still, but is Kids Club back this year? And if so, what hours does it go to? Is it, I know it used to be in the morning before school also. How's that gonna look?
Yeah, so it is back, and we are running it before school and after school. And we were fortunate enough to be able to do that last year as well. So that will still be in place. I know something did go out to parents that if they needed that option, they could sign up for that. So we will definitely have Kids Club running, and that will be an option for our families that need it.
What about lunches? I feel like now that I'm thinking about it, we talk to educators all the time, but I haven't really asked anyone about this in a while. Obviously, that's a place where no one's going to be wearing masks while they're eating, so that could, if anywhere, there would be more transmission, hopefully not, but in the cafeteria than anywhere. Is the lunchroom experience still the same, where people can buy lunch, bring lunch? What is that going to look like?
So our students will be able to purchase hot lunch or bring their lunch from home. And then what we will be doing, we're still solidifying our plans. So I just want to make that clear. But, where our mindset is right now is that we'll have one grade level at a time at lunch, and they'll be divided in half. So half of that grade level will be out at recess while the other half is in the cafeteria eating. And that will allow us to safely socially distance our students at lunch. And then they'll flip. So that's our current plan or our line of thinking right now, but we haven't 100% solidified that plan. And as soon as we have those details, that will be going out to our families.
Yeah. So because it was just last month that you were named as the new principal of Sheiko Elementary, I'm sure you spent the first half of this summer planning with Oakland Early College. So how did you kind of transition or just scratch all the other plans to then working on this? Or do you take some time off at the beginning of the summer to actually relax and enjoy summer vacation? Or as an administrator, is that not really something you get to do? Do you have to work year round?
So, we do work year round, but we have some vacation days we can take as needed. So I'll be totally honest with you. It's been tricky the last 2 summers to take vacation, just with COVID and how busy everything has been. So I was very fortunate to take a week off in July and be with my family. But that was about the extent of the time that I spent off. Other than that, I'm thankful to have a relationship with Mr. Borders, who took over at OEC, and to know him. So him and I worked together when we found out that we were both transitioning, and, we worked on a plan for what had already been discussed at OEC and kind of where he needed to take that. And he ran with that on his own, and I know he'll do great things there. And so just like I was able to meet with Miss James, I was able to meet with Mr. Borders, and we filled each other in, on what was happening. So, and then thankfully I'm still in the district too for support. So if he has any questions, I know he'll reach out to me.
Well, it's great to hear that all of you who have been within the district are still there on a team helping each other out. So as much as there's some repositioning, it's the same group of people that you guys have been working with for a while and definitely all have each other's backs. I've always loved the dynamic, even when I was in high school, just between you and Mr. Pierce, Mr. Pace, Mr. Watson. It was always such a team effort, and I loved seeing that. So I'm glad that that's something that continues throughout the whole district, not just at the individual school level. It's been so nice talking to you this morning. I actually forgot until you mentioned that you have a 3-year-old daughter, so that is so exciting, so sweet. Is there anything else you want to touch on before we let you go this morning?
No, I'm really excited for this school year. I think it's going to be such a great opportunity for us to try new things that we learned in this last year. And so I know that there's some anxiety and the unknown and what's going to happen, but I think getting students back in person 5 days a week is so important. And I'm really looking forward to seeing them and seeing their smiling faces and getting to know them. And it's so awesome to see you in this role too. So congrats, you're doing a great job.
Thank you so much. Congratulations again to you on everything you've been through and accomplished in the past 4 years since you were a social studies teacher at the high school. So Ashleigh Larkin, the new principal at Sheiko Elementary School. We are going to take a quick break on the Megacast, and we will be right back.
How does marijuana affect the teen brain?
Our brains are still developing into our 20s.
With regular use, marijuana can affect teen brain development.
It can affect our brain's circuitry and blood flow and impair thinking, learning, and memory function,
which could hold us back from reaching our potential.
Don't let marijuana mess with your brain.
Get the facts at michigan.gov/drug-free.
Here's one more reason to get the COVID-19 vaccine. It's your shot to win. Anyone 18 years or older in Michigan vaccinated between December 1st, 2020 and July 30th, 2021 is now eligible to win millions in cash prizes, including $1 million jackpots and $50,000 daily prizes. And vaccinated students could win thousands in college scholarships. For eligibility details and to enter, go to mishottowin.com.
Trevor Project is sharing how you can support LGBTQ youth who may be at risk.
It's simple. Just show them that you care. C-A-R-E. Connect. If you noticed any warning signs of suicide from someone you know, reach out to them.
Ask. Ask directly. Are you thinking about killing yourself? It might be challenging, but talking about suicide is proven to reduce risk.
Respond. If they open up to you about their suicidal ideation, honor that trust by responding with compassion and empathy.
Empower. Talking openly is a great first step, but now you can empower them with the information and the support they need to improve their situation.
Learn more about how you can show them you care and help prevent LGBTQ youth suicide. Visit trvr.org/care.
Welcome back to the Megacast. I'm Tyler Kieft alongside Erica Jones. And as we transition into our next interview, we'll go from southeastern Michigan to West Michigan. We recently spoke to a couple of people from City Dog Biscuits who are not only helping to provide tasty treats to our four-legged friends, but also opportunity to those in our state who need a chance to develop their skills and be part of our amazing Michigan workforce. That next here on the Megacast. Located in Grand Rapids, Michigan. We're pleased to be joined by Leslie Hooker and Suzanne Wilcox on the Oakland County Megacast. Leslie, Suzanne, thank you for being with us today.
Good morning. Thank you.
Appreciate having you on. Just a moment. I will make sure you can see me and not a repeat of yourself. There we go. Just to make sure that I'm not confusing you. So for those who are unfamiliar, can you give us a little bit of background on what City Biscuits is?
Yes, we are City Dog Biscuits, and we're a nonprofit, and we provide vocational training for adults with disabilities. And we started our company about 3 years ago, with our 2 boys, both of them disabled. And now we have over 135 individuals that come through our kitchen on a weekly basis to make delicious dog treats that are made from donated spent grains from Founders Brewing Company here in Grand Rapids.
And then are those dog biscuits then, are you distributing them to local stores? Are you selling them?
Sure, we are. We distribute to about 60 plus retailers in Grand Rapids area. We're also in Detroit, Premier Pet Supply. Mike Palmer, who's been a great partner of ours, has put our dog biscuits throughout his Premier Pet Supply stores. And we're also in Founders in Detroit. And again, about 60 retailers in West Michigan.
We're joined by Ashleigh Hooker and Suzanne Wilcox, the co-founders of Beer City Dog Biscuits, joining us here on the Oakland County Megacast. And of course, Beer City Dog Biscuits is a nonprofit. When you do get the proceeds from the sales of the dog biscuits at these various stores, where then do those proceeds go to? Who does that support?
They go right back into this business. Leslie and I don't take a dime. We've got a few part-time employees. But right now, our workers are all vocational training. When you deal with a population as an adult that would like to have some purpose and some dignity, but they don't want to necessarily get a full-time job because that would jeopardize their Social Security income that they get from the government. And, you know, all of these individuals, that's very important to them. It's what they live on, and they also that way qualify for Medicaid. So we are giving them a place to come that provides them purpose, community, friendships, and dignity. And that's really what they strive and want, as we all do.
Yeah, that's a really great program you have going there. We're joined by Ashleigh Hooker and Suzanne Wilcox on the Oakland County Megacast, the co-founders of Beer City Dog Biscuits, who are, of course, running a nonprofit with volunteer work from those in the community, and then the proceeds go back to support the community as well. And it's a really great program there. And of course, the local retailers, both in the Grand Rapids area and throughout the state of Michigan. Of course, you mentioned one of our good friends here on the show, Mike Palmer, and his team over at Premier Pet Supply that are always great advocates for the community. And so, on top of the proceeds going back into running the operations, it also helps to support the vocational training that you provide to people that do have disabilities, whether they be physical disabilities or a neurodivergence of some sort that may prevent them from having other jobs or may need them to have some additional help and have those opportunities. What are some of the varying vocational opportunities that are available through your program for people that do have disabilities?
So at our place of business, they come here and they even pick up our spent grains. We have groups that make our deliveries. This morning, we have 2 life skill, work skill programs that are here. And they're coming in this morning. They're actually making the dough. They're filling the biscuits. They're actually packing, labeling, and sealing the bags, putting them in boxes ready to go out to our retailers. So I think we're really unique that they do every part of the business. We just oversee it. They really do it all. So they're learning so much vocational training and about a working and a work skills program. And we've actually had employers come to us to watch them work, and we're a model for employment for them to move on if they choose to do that. And that's really, really well. We're really proud of them as they move on from here.
A lot of these individuals have difficulty interviewing for a job. And so if they really truly would like to get some part-time work or just grab a couple of hours in getting a paid position, employers will come and look at them working, which gives them an opportunity instead of an actual verbal interview to see, what they're capable of doing.
We're joined by Ashleigh Hooker and Suzanne Wilcox, the co-founders of Beer City Dog Biscuits, joining us today on the Oakland County Megacast. And this is really a great program that you have there to help empower those with disabilities and provide them opportunities that prepare them not only for real-world situations when they do decide to go out and get a job or as they continue to do their jobs, but it's also supporting and giving people an opportunity to benefit their community and to support their community in any way that they can. So Beer City Dog Biscuits continued to operate during the COVID-19 pandemic, but because your nonprofit organization's work is all based on volunteer work, how did you manage to keep that going during the pandemic when everybody wasn't able to be in your building as they are today?
Yeah, so it was a challenge for us, like so many businesses. We were fortunate that our website was up and running, and we just really put out to our community that our brew bakers, we outsourced, and I'll tell you a little more about that, our biscuit making. And we just asked them, please continue to buy our biscuits online. This is really important. This keeps them doing something, keeps them engaged. And our online sales went up 300% during COVID, which was just amazing. And what we did is we had coolers, and we were putting the dough, the molds, ice packs, and coolers. And group homes, individuals were coming and picking up, or we would drop off these coolers. Even to our intermediate school districts, we have classrooms, they were doing the same thing. So we were taking the biscuits to them. They couldn't come to us for a period of time, so we would take it to them. And again, that just kept them engaged, something to do during the day to be purposeful, and just they love doing it. And we Suzanne and I sent a lot of emails. We did some drive-bys. We met outside while they were working. Just so they knew how much we missed them and how much we love them, and we were so happy that they were helping us through COVID.
And we all felt vulnerable during the lockdowns and COVID, but I hope that your listeners and viewers will understand that this population in particular is vulnerable just because of who they are, and they are shut in a lot of the time. And so COVID was extra difficult for them. So Leslie and I tried to do everything that we could to keep them engaged and keep them positive, and keep them also knowing that we're going to be here. We're not going anywhere, and that we would make this happen so they could come back to us once things were lifted.
And that is so important for people that do have disabilities. Having a brother who is on the autism spectrum and has had vocational opportunities such as this in our local area, I can definitely attest to the power that something like this has in helping people with disabilities develop and helping them be ready for real world experiences. And his vocational opportunities, volunteer and paid, earlier on in his life definitely helped him for his current job today. So you are definitely making, your organization is definitely having a big impact on its volunteers. But beyond the volunteers, beyond of course the customers who are then purchasing your dog biscuits from, of course, Beer City Dog Biscuits, who we have on the Oakland County Megacast today, what are other ways, because there are other ways that your organization benefits the community. Can you go through a little bit of what some of those ways are?
How it benefits the community?
Yeah, how about benefits the greater community?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, I think I really definitely want to talk about a relationship with Founders Brewing Company. They stepped up right away. And when Leslie and I started brainstorming this business and trying to figure out what exactly the recipe, we approached Dave Engberg, the president of Founders, and he stepped right up and donated the spent grains. The other wonderful thing is that, Michiganders are incredibly generous. And so they've not only been grateful, we've been grateful for their financial donations, but also their presence. We have had a lot of leadership volunteers. But one of the great things that we've recently been able to do is we have become a clinical site for the Grand Valley State University's occupational therapy master's program, and also for their undergraduate recreational therapy program. And that we're being able to provide a hands-on experience and opportunities for those students to work directly with adults with disabilities. So they're getting some real world experience and hopefully then be able to take that on. We have an intern this summer from the recreational therapy program, and that has been not only beneficial to us, to them, but the brew bakers are loving this experience.
And the other thing that we're part of Kent Intermediate School District. They bring probably about 50 to 60 individuals to our work site. And that's just good for the whole community, right? These individuals, especially after COVID, this fall, they had lost a lot of work sites to go to. We were open, we were available for them to come. And those numbers keep growing and growing. And we have individuals that come in and, are stuffing molds. We have a group that it's hard for them to be in this work environment, in the kitchen, it's loud, sensory issues. So they represent us very well and our school district here in Kent County, and they deliver and pick up anything that we need. And we're being in 60 retailers, they're dropping off a lot of biscuits to a lot of businesses in Greater Grand Rapids and beyond.
Yeah, and the other wonderful thing is that I have the opportunity of being housed in a church, Sunshine Community Church, and that has been incredibly beneficial to us. Obviously, the opportunity to being in this beautiful building, but also that connection with the faith-based that has really been beneficial to our brewbakers and to us. Very welcoming community. It gives another opportunity for that leadership volunteers also to reach out into the neighborhood around the church to connect with these beautiful individuals and get them to realize, that they're beyond their disability, that they are people too.
And the other relationship we have is with Fifth Third Bank. And Fifth Third has been so generous. They, every quarter, buy about 18,000 samples.
Wow.
And these samples go to every single branch in Michigan. So Detroit area, Lansing area, Grand Rapids, Northern Michigan, all over the entire state. If you go through a drive-through with your dog, you will get a sample of your City Dog Biscuits. Also, they're all pet friendly. You can walk into a Fifth Third Bank with your dog and inside, and they'll give you a sample and tell you about our mission. So that's been a wonderful partnership that we are so grateful for.
We're joined by Ashleigh Hooker and Suzanne Wilcox, co-founders of City Dog Biscuits, with us today on the Oakland County Megacast. Just a few more minutes with the two of you today as we talk about your organization and all the great opportunities that it is providing for people in the Grand Rapids area. If somebody wants to get involved, whether they want to get involved for the vocational opportunities that are there, or they just want to help the organization in some way or another, how can they get in contact with you? How can they get involved?
We have a website at beercitydogbiscuits.org, and individuals can go on there. If you're in the Western Michigan area, you can go under the tab that will be able to go to the Sign Up Genius. So then you're able to come and really participate as a leadership volunteer and come alongside them. But we also have opportunities to donate financially to our organization. And we also have this wonderful store that sells all of our biscuits. We have 3 flavors. We have the original, and our product is all natural. And it's also actually really good. Full confession here, we've had lots of biscuits that we've eaten. So our original recipe is the spent grains, peanut butter, rice flour, and eggs. And then we have an additional flavor that has those ingredients but with blueberries and flaxseed in it. Then we've just introduced a new flavor, Cherry Coconut Crunch. It has cherries, coconut oil, molasses, the spent grains, rice flour, and eggs. And so we not only have the biscuits on sale at our website, but we also have swag and other individual things. Ashleigh and I are wearing t-shirts. We have hats. We have puzzles that represent, the autism community. And we have just lots of fun, different things on there.
This is our new Cherry Coconut Crunch, our brand new flavor that we just launched in the last couple months. And the dogs love them. Yeah, and then on the back of every bag, you'll find our mission, where we talk about our mission, and then on the other side, the ingredients. And then this is really special. The sticker is of one of our brew bakers, and every brew baker that is with us after about 3 months earns a t-shirt and a sticker. And we're so proud of them. They're proud to see themselves on our bag. And then what you can do is, if you follow us on social media, every Sunday we spotlight one of our brew bakers So this is Kayla. So if you look at a spotlight Sunday, you'll learn a little bit about Kayla, what her hobbies are, what she likes to eat, what she does in her free time. So just a fun way to connect our community with our brew bakers.
And how can people get connected with your social media? What are your social media handles? Where can they find you?
Sure. So we are Beer City Dog Biscuits on Facebook. And under Instagram is Beer City Dog Biscuits _BCDB. And we'd love for people to follow us. We'd love for people to buy our biscuits and then tag their dogs eating our biscuits. We put dogs on our social media all the time. They're on our website. And again, I think Suzanne said it, but it's beercitydogbiscuits.org.
And just
is our website.
And just lastly, before we let you go, once again, where are some of the locations in West Michigan and throughout the state of Michigan where people can pick up some of these Beer City Dog Biscuits?
Right. Well, as you mentioned, our great friend in the Detroit area, Mike Palmer at Premier Pet Supplies. We're also in the Pet Supply Plus over here in Western Michigan. But we have a list on our website on where all of our retailers are, and on that tab also has a map to let you know exactly where they're located. So your viewers and listeners can go on the website and find out where to buy them.
Or buy them online.
Well, Leslie, Suzanne, we thank you very much for joining us today on the program.
Thank you.
People are getting out to walk and bike in higher numbers. More vulnerable road users and higher speed traffic can be a dangerous combination. Crash severity has increased, so if you're driving, be sure to slow down and look for people. There's no need to speed. If you're biking, ride with traffic. If you're walking, avoid stepping into the road if possible. If you have to walk in the street, walk facing traffic. Learn more at walkbikedrivesafe.org.
One of the things you can look for in your friends is a change in behavior. These can be big changes, they can be small changes in mood, physical appearance. They may be sleeping less or sleeping more, drinking more, or their eating patterns may be different. One big change that can be pretty obvious is change in motivation. Do they no longer want to play basketball? Do they no longer want to play video games? Now that we're spending more time online and in virtual settings, it's really important to pay attention to the language that your friend is using and the words they're using to communicate.
So when we text our friends, are they taking longer amounts of time to respond? Are they not responding at all? You don't have to be an expert to try to recognize these signs. The second that you feel it in your gut and that you're concerned, that's the second to have the conversation and open the door to what might be going on.
Whatever gets you talking.
Welcome back to the Megacast. I'm Tyler Keith alongside Erica Jones. You're listening to 89.3 WBLD, Orchard Lake, West Bloomfield, Kego Harbor, Sylvan Lake, and 88.1 WBFH, Bloomfield Hills, your radio home for the Megacast in southeastern Michigan. You can also watch us on Civic Center TV and Birmingham Area Municipal Access, those cable television stations in your local area, Comcast, Channel 15, and AT&T Channel 99. You can also find Civic Center TV on the web, civiccentertv.com, and you can find our show on My Michigan Television as well, mymitv.com. That is mymitv.com to learn more about My Michigan Television and where you can find it on your smart TV, on your smartphone, and all across the web. We're pleased to be joined now by 4 high school students who have taken their love of sports to help provide equipment that is necessary for other kids just like them to participate in the games that they love. We're joined by Cooper Schoenberg, Carter Lutz, Ethan Wise, and Mitchell Greenberger. They are Birmingham High School students now on the Megacast. Thanks for being with us, guys.
Thank you for having us. We really appreciate it.
So let's start off, Cooper. Let's start with you. Give us a little bit of an overview about this equipment drive that the 4 of you are planning. What kind of equipment are you looking for, and where and how can people donate?
Okay, perfect. So we're a sports podcast. We thought, why not give back? We're a sports podcast. Let's do a sports drive. And I partnered with Brilliant Detroit last year, so I thought, let's partner with them again. They were really easy. They were phenomenal. So we started the sports drive to give back to the community. We all grew up playing sports, meeting each other through sports. So we wanted other kids that were less fortunate to have the same opportunity, play sports. So we collected equipment for ages around 8 to 12, and it's literally any sports equipment you have, whether it's basketball shoes, tennis shoes, rackets, football, baseball, anything you got, we will take. It helps. It goes a really long way. You can find our Instagram at the student section _ with a lot of information. And Brilliant Detroit has posted a couple things about where to find us. You can contact our emails on the flyers that Brilliant Detroit posted, and it has all of our addresses on it.
So for those that are not familiar with Brilliant Detroit, what does this organization do to help provide this equipment and these opportunities to kids in the local area? And why did your podcast decide on this organization to provide this equipment to from your drive?
Great question. So they're an organization based in Detroit, and they have houses all throughout the city. And basically, they're kind of just a shelter or a way for people to escape and get some help that they need. Or if mothers have kids that need help, they can go to the Brilliant Detroit houses and they can play sports, meet new people. So it's a really good way for people to escape the chaos in the city. And we partner with them because, as I said, I partnered with them last year. They were phenomenal. They were super easy. They are very efficient, and they're just a great organization that helps a great cause. So we thought, why not partner with them again?
And this is something that's characteristic of all four of you, having outside of your podcast and just in your individual life, is also doing service to the community. Let's move on. Carter, you're also a multi-sport athlete and have previously done some work with your sister in a nonprofit that she does a lot of work with to collect school dance dresses and accessories to provide for underprivileged girls to have those similar experiences themselves. For you personally, as a young man who is, of course, growing up and going through the experiences of any young man, but having these opportunities, how important is it for you to give back to the community and put forth these efforts to help other kids have those similar experiences, knowing that it has such an impact on your life?
Yeah, well, the thing that we really wanted to get out of this is that we know that we can make a big difference because our community is so large. We have so many people that want to donate. So to have that opportunity to capitalize on that opportunity, as you said before, we all played sports growing up. And Cooper mentioned, these kids are not fortunate enough to provide, the materials for that. And so it's important for me and obviously all of us that we make a difference in these kids' lives and they get to play sports because that's what's fun about growing up.
Mm-hmm.
And Mitchell, also you're a varsity tennis player. You did, over the course of the pandemic, you did food collecting drives to provide additional food to people that maybe were not able to afford it or get healthy food for themselves and their family over the course of the pandemic. In this case, with you and your podcast partners here, is this the first collective drive or charitable effort that the four of you have put together, or is this something that you have all done before and this is sort of a new effort that you're going for right now?
So we've all, helped the community with our own efforts, but this is the first time us four have really come together as friends. We've really decided to come together, use our platform and podcast to make a difference in the community. So this was the first time us four in specific have gotten together to do stuff, but we've all been doing stuff to help the community for years now.
We're joined by Cooper Schoenberg, Carter Lutz, Ethan Wise, and Mitchell Greenberger on the Megacast. They're Birmingham High School students, and they are also running a drive to collect sports equipment for Brilliant Detroit, an organization that provides equipment for childhood sports programs to kids all throughout the local area. You can find more information or get more information about how to donate these items by contacting Cooper Schoenberg at cschoenberg123@gmail.com. And Brilliant Detroit is also accepting donations at Southwest Chadsey Condon Hub location at 5676 Larkin Street in Detroit. We'll provide that address and that information to you in the description that will be on our website when we put this up on demand on civiccentertv.com later on today. So let's take a little bit of a step back as we are talking about this. And Ethan, let's talk a little bit about the podcast that you guys do. So the four of you have started a podcast. That's kind of how you guys came together and started this drive as a podcast. Ethan, how long have the four of you been doing this podcast, and where can people maybe find that and listen to it?
I think we started, September this year? We started early this year.
Mm-hmm.
We had the idea, though, like when quarantine first started, we decided that we were going to make a sports podcast, but we didn't get around to it until like a year later.
We're joined by Cooper Schoenberg, Carter Lutz, Ethan Wise, and Mitchell Greenberger. They are the co-hosts of the Student Section podcast and are also holding a sports equipment collection drive that benefits Brilliant Detroit. So, guys, where can we find your podcast? Where can people listen to it?
You can find it in Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and that's basically it. All you have to do is search up the Student Section and it'll pop right up.
Yeah, and also on our Instagram at the Student Section _, we post a lot of like content on there. Like you can interact with us on there.
Yeah.
Through the story, we do like polls where you can vote on stuff. So that's like a fun way to talk to people.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of the collection drive that's currently going on, when did it start? How long do people have to donate this equipment for these kids?
So we started the drive, I think back in May. We decided we were going to collect things, and we're going to keep the drive going. We've still been receiving donations, and we know how easy it is for people, just to go in their garage. You can really find anything, and we're going to use it. We're going to take it to those kids for good use. And so we started back in May. We're going to keep it going until at least September, see what happens, and the donations keep coming, and you guys can donate too. It's really easy. Again, as we said, we have addresses on our Instagram. You can go right straight to Brilliant Detroit. And yeah.
And what's the response been so far? You said that the four of you started this drive back in May, so it's been a few months that's been ongoing, that you've been collecting these items, donating them to Brilliant Detroit, who are then distributing them to kids that really are in need of this equipment to play the sports that they love. So far, what has been the response from Brilliant Detroit, and what impact has your drive had on these kids?
I can take this one. It's been really positive. They've been really appreciative, and we really appreciate them for giving us the outlet to give back to the community, which is just so important to us. So we really appreciate everything that they're doing, and they appreciate everything that we're doing.
You can find more information on Brilliant Detroit at brilliantdetroit.org. We're joined at the moment by the co-hosts of the Student Section podcast, Cooper Schoenberg, Carter Lutz, Ethan Wise, and Mitchell Greenberger. And are there specific kinds of equipment that you're looking for with this drive? Are there certain kinds of equipment for certain sports that are more of a need for Brilliant Detroit than others?
So our biggest needs we're looking for, things like baseball bats, mitts, basketballs, footballs, like baseballs, any type of basic equipment really we don't prioritize any type over the other, but because we have on our Instagram a certain list and things on the, also Brilliant Detroit posted the list of equipment. We don't really prioritize anything over anything else, but just the basic, mitts, balls, anything that the kids can use easily.
Yeah.
Once again, just before we say goodbye, another few minutes here with you guys, where can people find more information or get in contact with you about this drive if they want to donate?
They can contact me at cschoenberg123@gmail.com. We have our Instagram at the Student Section _, which has a lot of flyers, which contains a lot of information about the drive, like where you can donate at the Brilliant Detroit office, or our addresses at our homes where you can drop it off. We all have signs out on our front porches, which is easy to find and see, and you can drop any equipment off there.
Yeah, all of our emails are up there. Brilliant Detroit's up there. So if you have any questions, anything you need, we're all here and just trying to help out.
And again, you can also email Cooper at cschoenberg123@gmail.com. Brilliant Detroit is accepting donations at Southwest Chadzik Hunden Hub location. We'll provide that address to you in the description of this interview. And then you can find more information on Brilliant Detroit at brilliantdetroit.org. And then, guys, just before I leave, I'm looking at the background. You guys are sports podcasters. You do your student section podcast. And I'm seeing in the background there, I see not one, but two different signs for the Chicago Bulls. And I have to ask, why the Bulls? We're in Pistons country here. What's going on?
I'm a Chicago native.
We're the Pistons.
Okay.
All three Detroit, one Chicago.
Okay, I'll accept that. That's much more acceptable. What are your thoughts then? In that case, as a Chicago native and a Chicago sports fan, Ethan, what are your thoughts on some of their free agent acquisitions? Big summer it's been for them with Lonzo Ball and DeMar DeRozan coming in.
Oh, I'm pumped. DeMar DeRozan, Lonzo Ball, Alex Caruso, all the boys. The Chicago Bulls are a playoff team.
Yeah, it's looking good. Things are definitely looking good for them, and they're looking good here in Detroit as well for the other three of you as we bring in Cade Cunningham and a number of other to this great young core that the Pistons have. So thank you guys for joining us on the Megacast today. We appreciate it, and for those of you tuning in, you can find more information on Brilliant Detroit at brilliantdetroit.org, and you can contact the guys for information on this drive by contacting Cooper via email at cschoenberg123@gmail.com. We'll also provide information for Brilliant Detroit's address that they're using to collect some of this equipment so that you can make direct donations to Brilliant Detroit. We're going to take a quick break. On the other side of the break, we'll transition downtown, and we'll be joined by the president of the Eastern Market Partnership to talk about some more sports information. What's going to be going on down there with tailgating during the Detroit Lions season? Is it going to happen? Will it be different? And what else is happening down with our friends at Eastern Market? That coming up next, as well as more here on the Oakland County Megacast on a family of TV, radio, and other media outlets.
Here's one more reason to get the COVID-19 vaccine. It's your shot to win. Anyone 18 years or older in Michigan vaccinated between December 1st, 2020 and July 30th, 2021 is now eligible to win millions in cash prizes, including $1 million jackpots and $50,000 daily prizes. And vaccinated students could win thousands in college scholarships. For eligibility details and to enter, go to mishottowin.com.
Today, it is easier than ever to join Michigan's Organ Donor Registry and help build a bridge of hope for organ, tissue, and eye donation. Just one person can potentially save or help improve the lives of up to 75 people. By joining, your legacy could be the gift of life. Sign up today at michigan.gov/SOS or at any of the more than 145 Secretary of State self-service stations located across Michigan. Be part of Michigan's Bridge of Hope by adding your name to the Organ Donor Registry.
How does marijuana affect the teen brain?
Our brains are still developing into our 20s.
With regular use, marijuana can affect teen brain development.
It can affect our brain's circuitry and blood flow and impair thinking, learning, and memory function,
which could hold us back from reaching our potential.
Don't let marijuana mess with your brain.
Get the facts at michigan.gov/drug-free.
Welcome back to the Megacast. I'm Tyler Keefe in the studios of our stations at Civic Center TV in West Bloomfield Township. You can also view us on Birmingham Area Municipal Access in a service of the Birmingham Area Cable Board there in the Birmingham Bloomfield area. On the radio, also in that area on 88.1 WBFH, the BIF. And you can find us online, civiccentertv.com, facebook.com/civiccentertv15, as well as on My Michigan Television, MYMITV.com. And you can also find My Michigan Television on your smartphone, on the App Store, and on the Android app, and on the Google Play Store as well, and on your smart TV and Roku also. We're pleased to be joined now by Dan Carmody. He is the president of the Eastern Market Partnership, joining us now on the Megacast. Dan, thanks for being with us today.
Good morning.
Appreciate having you on. What are some things going on now at the Eastern Market Partnership?
Well, it's a busy season. We're in full swing. Michigan harvest is underway. So last night, for example, I was at the overnight wholesale market, and that's when 20 or 30 of our larger growers show up, and a lot of independent grocers drive their semis down and buy pallets worth of product that's generally in their stores today. So that's at freshness of local product that really distinguishes sometimes what people can get in Michigan versus some other parts of the country that don't have the diversity of crops that Michigan farmers produce. Saturday market, year round, but it's enjoying a good season. Attendance recovered from some of the lows of the pandemic. We still have we're out a few vendors. COVID cost us some vendors in terms of people taking early retirement, and some vendors haven't been able to find staff to get up all of their sales points. So we're still down a few vendors, but crowds have been good. The neighborhood's alive. There's a lot going on around the Eastern Market District. So it's become we've returned to the normalcy, and to the extent that people come down and enjoy themselves more than just shopping at the market, and enjoy some of the food and beverage opportunities and retail sales opportunities that are located around the market. Our seasonal markets, Tuesday, which is a scale model of the Saturday market that also includes health and fitness activities such as Zumba and yoga. That's in full swing till the end of September. And the Sunday street market, which features merchandise and a little bit of food rather than food with a little bit of merchandise, which is the Saturday market, it also is in full swing till the end of September. And then that market comes back on a holiday format on the Sundays between Thanksgiving and Christmas, as people look for unique, locally made gift items for the holiday season. So, the seasonal markets actually have enjoyed a strong year in 2021, coming off a rather lackluster year during the height of the pandemic last year. And then lastly, with regard to a lot of the special events that happen in Eastern Market, they're coming back very slowly in the post-pandemic era. Last year, so many of our events were wiped out, postponed, or canceled. And this year, we're starting to see them pop up. We will have the Fall Beer Festival by the Michigan Beer Guild. That's on Saturday, the 23rd of October. But we will not be hosting tailgating this year. That was a decision that we struggled with for quite a while. Lions tailgating at Eastern Market is quite a tradition, but it's very labor intensive. There's a lot of security, there's a lot of cleanup, and we simply just did not have the staff on hand to be able to adequately staff that function. So we hope that in 2022 we'll return to the tailgating business in a serious way.
We're joined by Dan Carmody. He's the president of the Eastern Market Partnership with us on the Megacast. And Dan, let's talk a little bit about the tailgating situation this year, because as you said, it's not going to be available for tailgating before Lions football games in 2021 due to a staffing issue. You do hope to have that back in 2022. Will parking still be available for Lions fans down at the Eastern Market Partnership at all during the season?
I believe that street parking will be available, but it's hard to enforce a no tailgating ban in our surface parking lots. So there will be no parking allowed in our lots, but there will be parking allowed on the street. Detroit police will be enforcing no tailgating. You can park, but you can't party out of your car.
We're joined by Dan Carmody. He is the president of the Eastern Market Partnership with us on the Megacast, and we've talked a lot so far about sort of a return to normalcy, a gradual return to normalcy of operations there at the Eastern Market Partnership, of course, with some of the remaining factors in place, such as staffing being an issue, people moving on, vendors retiring due to the COVID-19 situation. As we're in a position that we're in right now with the Delta variant and the uptick in COVID-19 cases locally, what is Eastern Market doing to continue to monitor the situation? Are any changes to be expected in the experience or the operations over there as a result of this uptick in COVID-19 cases?
Yeah, we're real proud of the fact that we never closed during the pandemic, and that we tried to keep a close hand on the best facts we had available, and when we needed to, we required masks, and when we didn't, we let that requirement lapse. And so we're monitoring the situation closely. Most of the market this time of year is an outdoor function, so there's a little bit more safety there than a lot of indoor shopping opportunities. So again, close monitoring of data, and if we have to lead back with a mask mandate, we'll do what we have to do.
So at this time, what are requirements, if any, are there for people that are coming in from the outside? If people are wanting to go to tomorrow's Saturday market, should they be prepared to bring a mask? Do they have to be vaccinated?
They do not have to have a mask, and we have no way of enforcing or knowing, the vaccine is. The mask would be the pivotal point for us when we begin to tighten things down, if we do so in the future. We still recommend masks. We do have, Detroit's vaccination rate is, not as high as it should be. So we do have customers who come from the city that we know are not vaccinated. So I choose to wear a mask, even though I have been vaccinated, just as a way to help make sure that I'm not inadvertently spreading anything on to people who haven't been vaccinated. So right now, there's no requirement, just a recommendation that, wear a mask if you feel responsible for trying to limit the spread.
We're joined by Dan Carmody on the Megacast. He is the president of the Eastern Market Partnership with us today. And for those that maybe are not comfortable with the situation right now because of the Delta variant, because of the uptick in cases, but they want to continue to support local, to support these vendors, to support Eastern Market Partnership, are there avenues that are in place for people to continue to provide that support without necessarily having to go out into the public and go through the regular experience down at Eastern Market?
Yes, we do have a response that we began in the height of COVID lockdown. We have a curbside service that's available at our website. It's too late to order this week, but if you go to www.easternmarket and search for curbside, you'll see a link to an ordering site that's open. I believe it's from Sunday through Wednesday, and basically you pre-order, and then you pick up without getting out of your car as you drive through the market. And while those numbers are down from what they were early in the pandemic, we've been able to. We're happy that there's a lot of loyalty to that program, and we're able to sustain that program with a significant number of regular customers that have continued to support local farmers in that way, rather than the traditional shopping the stalls live at a market on Saturday or Tuesday.
So you've got a special event that's going on right now. Actually, it begins later on today at 5 p.m., the Sweetest Heart of Mary Pierogi Festival of 2021. You care to give us a little bit of an overview about what people can expect if they're going down to Eastern Market to attend this event?
Well, actually, that's at the campus of the church, which is a few blocks north of Eastern Market. It's actually at Canfield and Russell Street, or Canfield into Quinders. So if you set your auto direction capabilities to those intersection streets, it'll get you to one of the most beautiful churches in all of Metro Detroit. If you've never been to the Sweetest Heart of Mary Church, it is truly a spectacular church, and it's home to the Polish community in Metro Detroit. And I try to make Pierogi Festival every year. I'll be there. Great pierogies and other Polish-centric foods and entertainment, and it's a great event.
You can find more information on this event at Eastern Market's website, easternmarket.org, and that event, of course, is, as Dan corrected me, at the Sweetest Heart of Mary Church, located at 4440 Russell Street in Detroit. And it's their 40th anniversary, so it's a big milestone as well for the church down there, and so that makes this event even more important, especially as we're coming back out in 2021 and having more of these events back in the community that we weren't able really to have in close proximity in 2020.
Take advice from me. I think the festival runs today, tomorrow, and Sunday.
Yes.
And I showed up at 3 o'clock on a Sunday one year and couldn't find one pierogi left. So you don't want that to happen to you. They're really excellent pierogies, and they're homemade by members of the congregation, and it's just a great event.
Yeah, the event begins today, 5 o'clock to 10 p.m., Saturday, August 14th, 12 noon to 9 p.m., and Sunday, August 12th, 12 p.m. until 5 p.m. And that, of course, is the Sweetest Heart of Mary Pierogi Festival 2021. It'll be at the church itself. That's the Sweetest Heart of Mary Church on Russell Street in Detroit. You can find more information on easternmarket.org. And in terms of what of the needs of the partnership right now, Dan, of course, throughout the pandemic, organizations such as yours and others throughout the community, they really needed more help from the community than ever before in the form of donations. Is that still the case at Eastern Market? Are donations still really critical, or is Eastern Market at a point right now where they are managing and sort of getting back to a sense of normalcy?
We're always in addition to operating the market, we spend a lot of time and resources addressing food access issues, which actually accelerated during the pandemic. So we were fortunate last year to receive a USDA contract and deliver 2,000 food boxes a week to people in need between May and September. And quite frankly, that income from doing that program from the USDA replaced the loss of revenue from not having the events or from having fewer vendors. This year, and we also suppressed a lot of our one-time maintenance costs for a while. We just put work off. This year, we don't have the advantage of the USDA program. We've tried to continue a smaller box delivery program with generous support from individuals and philanthropy, but we haven't been able to restrain our costs. So we're actually in a little worse situation than we were last year because our revenues are still down. With events are coming back, but not to the level they were. It's going to take a couple of years to get that back to where it was. And again, our revenue income from rentals to vendors is still below what it is, even if customer traffic is approaching normalcy. So, we're still in a little bit of a need. The work we do around food access is just as important, and so we've been trying to not cut programs there when people are in need. And then we also do a lot of work in food entrepreneurship. And so we're building out a support system for emerging food businesses. And there are the high construction costs. We have a capital project. We know firsthand that construction costs have increased significantly. So those are some of the financial stress points. Revenues are still down. So yeah, we do have ability to contribute to the organization on our website at www.easternmarket.org. We also have our gala coming up. So we'll be returning to a live gala. That's scheduled for Friday, October 8th, and it's upwards of 400 people in one of our big sheds. And this year, we're pleased to announce that Chef Anthony Lombardo from She-Wolf is the master chef, and it's a 10-course farm-to-table dinner, second to none. So the quality of that offering for nonprofit fundraisers, we take full advantage of our role as one of the centers of Michigan food and agriculture to roll out a pretty tasty offering.
We're joined by Dan Carmody on the Megacast. He is the president of the Eastern Market Partnership with us today. And Dan, a few more minutes with you before we'll say goodbye today. In terms of market hours and activities, are they starting to return back to some sort of normalcy? Are there still some odd hours and modified hours due to staffing and so on?
Our Saturday market is 6 a.m. to 4 p.m. And effectively, one effect of the pandemic is that vendors tend to sell out sooner. There's more buying and less browsing is one outcome of the pandemic. And so we're open to 4. You should get there before 3 o'clock. Sundays are 10 to 4, and Tuesdays are 9 to 3. And those are all good hours, and we welcome you to enjoy the ambience of Eastern Market and not only under the sheds, but get out and explore the district. And most of our businesses are back open with normal business hours. And they're open. Oh, by the way, they're open 6 or 7 days a week, so you don't have to wait for market day to come down to enjoy the district. Sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. We want to hear it all. But Dan, I've actually never been able to make it down to the Eastern Market. I've always wanted to go. So for someone like me that hasn't yet had the opportunity to go down there, what are some must-haves or must-tries?
Well, first of all, you want to get the heart of the market and to really enjoy the ambience of the market. Come on preferably a sunny summer day and come between 9 a.m. and 1 p.m. And you're going to find one of the most compelling urban markets in the United States. In normal times, 30 to 35,000 people. We're probably more in the 25 to 30,000 range. It is all of Metro Detroit. We come together across the lines that sometimes separate us. and people leave feeling better for not only great agricultural products and healthcare products and a few specialty merchandise items, but also because they enjoy the diversity of people that the region features. And so please come and wear your walking shoes, shop the market, buy a lot of merchandise, make our vendors happy, but then also get out and explore the district. And you're going to find I'll give you 3 or 4 sort of interesting things that you might want to explore. Number one is we were recognized by Smithsonian Magazine in 2019 as having one of the 6 best mural festivals in the world. We ran an event called Murals in the Market for 5 years. We've taken the last couple of years off because of the pandemic. But you'll see a collection of visual art around Eastern Market, second to none anywhere. And a lot of them involve, important social themes. Others are just great pieces of art. Secondly, come hungry. There's a lot of different food and beverage options. Last year, we completed a streetscape project on Riopelle Street. And so on market days now, there's massive outdoor drinking and dining opportunities on Riopelle Street featuring Eastern Market Brewing Company and Detroit City Distillery. But some of our old standbys like Birds and Thomas McGee's and Vivio's are also been outside prior to the pandemic and continuing on. And then there's great specialty merchandise available around the Market District, from Detroit Hustles Harder to Vintage Eastern Market, which is a consortium of antique stalls located a couple blocks away, to Savvy Chic, one of the finest home decorating boutiques in the metro area. So you'll find a great pet shop, 3 dogs, 1 cat. You'll find a private marketplace called Gratiot Central that features 150 feet of meat on 2 aisles, locally known as 300 feet of meat. So any protein product you're interested in, you can find, across the freeway that bisects Eastern Market from north to south at Gratiot Central Market. Those are just a few of the highlights.
We're joined by Dan Carmody. He's the president of the Eastern Market Partnership with us today on the Megacast. Dan, a few more minutes with you before we say goodbye. And as we get into the late summer and into the fall, what are some other things? You, of course, mentioned Pierogi Fest, which will be going on over the weekend. And then coming up, you have your annual gala that's coming back this year. What are some other things that are on the docket coming up down at Eastern Market?
Fall Beer Festival by the Michigan Beer Guild, which is usually a 2-day fair. This year, just 1 day on Saturday, the 23rd or 4th of October. We will, the feature this year is, as in most years, is that this is the time of year where Michigan agriculture is at its peak bounty. And it was this year, the growing season was not an easy one, the rains of this week. So we have some growers who are normally back mid-July are just now getting back to the market. But the product is starting to roll in, and as usual, it is both spectacular to look at and even better to eat. And so I know for myself, as an empty nester, I have to practice a lot of restraint to make sure I'm not overbuying every week and wasting food that otherwise could go into someone else's palate. So for us, it's the star attraction this time of year is the beauty of both the aesthetics of Michigan harvest and its great taste. So I don't want to dilute the product offering. Come on a Saturday, come early, and see the bounty of Michigan agriculture.
Well, Dan, we appreciate having you on, and thank you for taking the time today.
My pleasure, anytime. Thanks, guys.
Appreciate it. Dan Carmody, the president of the Eastern Market Partnership, with us on the Megacast today. You can find more information on the Eastern Market at easternmarket.org. It also gives you information about donating to the market, as well as information on all of their programs and events coming up, not only this week, but into the future as well. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back on the other side, our final interview of the week will be with Glen Schwartz and Nikki O'Donnell, the co-founders of Viewspire. We'll talk mental health next after the break. You're watching and listening to the Megacast.
Who is struggling right now?
I am.
My son is.
Many are struggling with anxiety, depression, and substance use. Before it becomes a crisis, reach out to MyCal, the Michigan Crisis and Access Line, for free confidential support 24/7. Available in the Upper Peninsula and Oakland County. Just call or text 1-844-44-MyCal or chat online at michigan.gov/MyCal. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services.
Motorcyclists are hard to see. To keep everyone safer, it's important to always look for them and know where most crashes occur. 84% of motorcycle and vehicle crashes happen on streets, not highways. And most crashes with motorcyclists occur when vehicle drivers are turning left. So before turning, especially to the left, make sure you look for motorcyclists. Then look again. It could save a life.
To Sophia and Gabriel. Even though these old knees can't follow on your adventure to the forest today, these flowers represent my love. These stitches and threads join us together. And wherever you see a flower, a bird, a beautiful tree, know that my love is with you.
Make the forest part of your story at a park near you. Find one at discovertheforest.org.
Welcome back to the Megacast. I'm Tyler Keefe alongside Erica Jones. You're listening to us on 89.3 Lakes FM and 88.1 The Biff. You're also viewing us on Civic Center TV and Birmingham Area Municipal Access, both on Comcast Channel 15 and AT&T Channel 99. Check your local listings in southeastern Michigan. On the web, civiccentertv.com, as well as on My Michigan Television, mymitv.com. That's mymitv.com. You can also find My Michigan Television or My on your mobile phone on a number of different mobile phone app stores, as well as on your smart TV. Well, throughout the pandemic, there's been an increased focus on mental health, especially as we've gone further and further along in this crisis and have realized not only the toll that the COVID-19 pandemic has taken on each and every one of our mental health, but the toll that regular life took on our mental health even before COVID-19 was a major crisis. And one local organization is addressing that with an upcoming event. We're pleased to be joined by Glen Schwartz. He's the co-founder of Viewspire and Viewpoint Psychology and Wellness, as well as Nikki O'Donnell, who is a co-owner of Viewspire. Glen, Nikki, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you.
Appreciate having you on. So we have an upcoming festival coming up. It's in October 9th. That's a Saturday from 11 a.m. to 7:30 p.m. promoting Viewfest 2021. What is Viewfest? What can people expect at this event in October?
This is going to be like something I don't think anyone has ever experienced. We're doing something that's never been done before. So I'm a child psychologist at Viewpoint Psychology and Wellness. So this is kind of like, like a dream of mine for a long, long time. After everything that happened with the pandemic and the way that I saw that affect the kids and the teens that I see and then my colleagues see, we just really felt passionately, we have to do something, And so this is what we're doing. We're not just going to talk the talk about mental health, we're going to walk the walk. So we're creating essentially a really unique, revolutionary way to deliver mental health to kids and teens and the community really at large. So this is going to be an event that you might not actually know is a mental health focused event, or like I like to term it, a mental health supportive event, but it is. So we're bringing together all kinds of different things, from food trucks to activities, experiences, speakers. We're bringing together huge players in the community within Oakland County who are also passionate about this, and it's going to be a blast. No joke. And we're also going to break a world record, which is the other piece that's really awesome.
So what is that world record? What world record do you plan on breaking?
You want to talk about that?
No, go ahead.
I'm on a roll. All right. So currently, part of Viewspire, one of the initiatives that kind of came out of the company Viewspire, which is who is, kind of planning this whole Viewfest thing. Viewspire is in mental health advocacy and empowerment company. So we do stuff like this. We do cool stuff. But one of the other cool things that we do is we started something called the Hug Buddy Postcard Program. These are Hug Buddy postcards. Simple little postcard, right? But this came out of, Glen's son Avery developed this creative way to send love to his family members when we couldn't be connected to them. This is the most COVID safe hug you can get. It's a postcard, right? But it's like a massive kindness project. We've delivered hundreds, thousands of these to schools and community groups across the U.S. We've worked with Chicago public schools. We've been all over the place with these. And so we're going to use them to create the longest line of postcards, the longest consecutive line. It's currently held at 21,000 cards, and we're going to break it with at minimum 26,000. We're really hoping for 30,000 because we don't want anyone to be able to touch us for a while. But it will literally be an entire line. We're going to do this within Walled Lake Central High School, which if anyone's ever been there, it's perfect for this. It's just one long shot down the school. And so people are going to be able to come into the event through the front doors of Central and see us, and be able to participate in this record-breaking event that we're going to do as a community.
It'll end up being about 1.8 miles of cards. And at the end of the event, those will be donated to local hospitals, schools, and then predominantly to the U.S. Armed Forces.
We're joined by Glen Schwartz and Nikki O'Donnell, co-founders and owners of Viewspire, with us on the Megacast, previewing Viewfest 2021, which will be happening on October 9th. That's a Saturday at Walled Lake Central High School from 11 a.m. until 7:30 p.m. And you spoke about this event kind of being more interactive and fun. There's going to be a lot of different vendors and activities, and specifically said it's going to feel like it's not a mental health event when at the same time you are at that event. How do you create that kind of environment and still have a situation where you are opening that dialogue and people are comfortable to have those difficult conversations? Because when you're having all this fun activity, people might just focus on the fun but not really get to necessarily the nitty-gritty of what the purpose of this event is.
Right, 100%. We're calling this a psychologist curated event. And so it's myself and colleagues who also feel passionately about this. What we did was we took the 5 pillars of mental health: connection to community, physical wellness and well-being, learning new coping skills, all of these different things that really encompass the things that we work on individually with clients in therapy. So we took activities that we use in therapy that people might not realize. I think the biggest compliment I get when someone new comes to therapy to see me is, wow, I didn't think this is how it's going to be. And I didn't think you look like a therapist either, which is also very fun when they say that. But, it really breaks. We're changing how people are viewing mental health. So the activities that we're doing are very purposeful, but we put a very fun, whimsical spin on it. That's where the Hug Buddy comes in. And he's our mascot. It's whatever we want him to be at the moment. But each activity will have a therapeutic element to it. So for example, one of the things that kids love, to no surprise, are fidgets. Right? Mm-hmm. Who doesn't love a good fidget? Poppets, all of this. So we were like, okay, that is definitely something that we use in therapy for things like mindfulness, grounding exercises, coping skills for anxiety management, meditation, all of these things that when my teenagers come to see me, they just roll my eyes, or they roll their eyes when I say those things. But if we take it in a different approach, right? How do you utilize fidgets in a therapeutic way? We can teach that. We can teach that in a lot of different ways. And one of the ways we're going to do that at Viewfest is we're going to have a fidget buffet. So we've got a junior executive committee of our kids that are elementary school, and we've got high schoolers as well, who gave us input into what would be helpful. One really neat part about what happened this past year when these kids were remote is teachers really, they're rock stars, right? Next level, but they really, I think, had a huge focus and challenge with helping these kids with mental health. And so, like with the fidgets, right? Kids were allowed to bring them to school. They were learning to utilize them in the classrooms in a helpful way and not a distracting way. And so we're gonna have this huge buffet and kids can come and create their own coping kit. So we're using the names, right? We're using this verbiage, and there will be all along the way. So maybe you're making a coping kit, right? And then maybe you move along and now you're going to make what we call a calm down jar. It's a meditation jar. It's a glitter jar. They're super fun. It's a way that we teach, again, mindfulness and grounding activities for, kids experiencing depression or even ADHD. It's a different way we strengthen that muscle. And so maybe they go create that. And along with their activity, they're also going to get the information needed in a QR code that takes them directly to our website that explains how would you use this for all kinds of things. How would you use this if you were feeling anxious? How would you use this if you were just having a bad day or were feeling stressed out? So we're not just delivering the activity, which it's there, but we're also delivering the therapeutic value piece that's underneath it. And that is through every activity.
Yeah, and there's a variety of arts and crafts activities, Paws is going to be there. The Walled Lake Therapy Dogs are going to be there. Swag Gym, which if you've never been or heard of Swag, it's absolutely incredible. Coach Ralph his whole team is coming that day to set up an obstacle course. Come Play Detroit has played an integral role in this. Fleece and Thank You, the Lakes Area Community Coalition, the Optimist Club. I mean, the list goes on and on of the people that are participating and having activities there that day. You can come to the event is free of charge. You can come for the entire day and not spend $1 and have a wonderful time, or you can come and there's certain activities will be priced accordingly for a value of tickets. But we've tried to make it so that everybody can come and have an enjoyable day no matter what they choose to do.
So there's so many exciting things going into this event, but what is the number one thing that each one of you is looking to take away from the event once it's completed?
Yeah.
So, we get that question a lot, and we have visions about Viewspire and things that we want to do moving forward that I think are very impactful. Of course, we want to continue the Hug Buddy project. If that can impact even one person, then we have made a difference. But the other thing that we're doing that we haven't touched on is we are having a tribute memorial for those in our community who have been lost to suicide. And it's a very, very sensitive topic, both with the families, friends, and the community at large. And we're trying to do this in a very tasteful way. But at the end of the event, if we're able to convert that into something that's brick and mortar, or we're able to just continue that initiative to make awareness, to know that there's other options. One statistic that I like to share, we have been talking about recently, is that there's 4 suicides a day in the state of Michigan. And that's predominantly amongst teens. And that's just, that's not okay. And so if we can use this platform to get people involved with the community, meet community members and what have you, then great. And I'm kind of indirectly answering the question because there's so many things that we want to talk about and let you know. But at the end of the day, the response that we've had to this has been so positive. So for me, we will define success as we are breaking a world record, we are making a donation, and we are having a memorial. That's happening no matter what. And so it will be a success. If everyone comes and has a great time, that'll just be icing on the cake. And I don't know.
Yeah, and I think the other personal piece for me is if people can walk away maybe with one new tool or skill or something in their pocket that they didn't have before. That would be incredible. Not only that, but if they walk away and they're like, wow, like that is not what I met a couple people today that were therapists and like it was not what I thought, or, I didn't think that these were ways that I could actually take care of my mental health. I will consider that in a huge success. Most of the kids maybe in our community that could really benefit from therapy won't ever make it into the office to see someone like me. So we have to find a different way to deliver this kind of support, just like we do physical health and wellness, right? We've got gym programs, we've got all kinds of stuff. We need mental health. And so I'm going to consider that a huge success if someone can walk away with just 1 or 2 new little tidbits of information, or maybe a connection that they made that has impact on them. It's a huge protective factor for kids and teens.
So without going too much in depth, what are some of these little tools that you're hoping people will be able to walk away with? As much as I would love to go so far in depth, of course, unfortunately, we don't have the time and we don't want to give away everything just yet. But on the surface level, what are some of those things?
Right. So I think a lot of them you're going to find are huge. The big focus that we took away was that the kids that are struggling now because of everything, the isolation, the reintegration back to school, anxiety is very, very high. 9 out of the 10 kids that I might see in a day, that is what we are talking and focusing on. So we're doing a lot of having to, developmentally, kids are like here with where they're supposed to be in managing big emotions, but with what they experienced this past year, they're having to function here. So then we have this danger gap that happens. And so a lot of our activities you'll find are coping skill driven, coping skill building, just like in the gym, you've got different machines for different parts of the body. We're going to have each activity be a different kind of a coping skill development tool to help bridge that gap a little bit, whether that's these are the words I use, but when we talk about the stuff with kids, we used a little different language, but clinically, we're talking about mindfulness and grounding activities, ones that are specific for things like panic symptoms, We're going to be, you'll find lots of that throughout. Self-care is going to be a huge one, right? Self-care isn't just, while it's nice, a bubble bath and kind of like reading a book. That's wonderful, but we're going to teach other self-care, or expose kids in the community to other kinds of self-care. And then also some of the physical activities and things. We know that physical activity, even for 10 minutes, getting our heart rate above resting, will have the same effect as an antidepressant for 4 hours after you do the activity. So like little things like this and facts that are helpful, not just for parents, but like for kids and teens, when I share this with them, they become their own expert. So that'll be a huge theme throughout. And if you know that, if you've listened to us talk about Viewfest and you attend the event, you're going to be like, I see how they did that. Very, very, not sneaky, but just very intentional. This is going to be a very intentional way that we approach this.
Well, I absolutely love your passion and energy about this. I'm very excited to see how the event plays out. And I think it's very crazy that you say getting that physical activity can have the same effect as an antidepressant for up to 4 hours. Because even I know with myself, I try and get out every single day and go for a run. And I'll be honest, these past couple days I've had I went to a concert the other night and then family dinner. It's like little things where I'm like, wow, I wasn't able to go. And I noticed such a difference in my mental health. I'm like, I need that time, even if it's 20 minutes to get outside. But on that topic of self-care things, how much of mental health and doing these self-care things do you think is taking that first step to realize you want to help yourself and take the initiative?
It's a huge piece, like even recognizing that there's something wrong. We have a community of kids that we've got a good population that's just very high achieving. Expectations that are just like, whoa. I mean, the kids that I'm seeing and that I'm working with in the community, like these generations of kids, they're fantastic. My concern for them is that, expectations are way up here. And so sometimes even them understanding like a more realistic expectation for themselves at age 9, and understanding like when something doesn't feel right, it doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with them necessarily. It's that maybe this is an actual thing. Maybe it has a name. Maybe it's anxiety. So you make a very good point, recognizing that this is something that we have to be intentional about taking care of, not just when there's a problem, but just in general, that these are skills. And thank goodness, I think really within our school systems, we're seeing more of this social emotional learning from a very young age, with the preschoolers and the kindergartners. I have a preschooler, and even in her classrooms, we're seeing some of this good stuff, but teaching them these skills young so that they'll have them, starting the conversation so that these generations, it's not going to be a big deal to talk about our mental health and what we need to do and when something's, off or not feeling right. In the same way that for me, talking about going to the dentist growing up wasn't a big deal.
We're joined by Glen Schwartz and Nikki O'Donnell, both from Viewspire. Glen Schwartz is also the co-owner of Viewpoint Psychology and Wellness here in the local area. And you started that, Glen, in 2016. And from the onset, and you marked this yourself in your messaging to us, your goal, and your wife Melanie's co-owner of the business, your goal was to make an impact that goes far beyond basic programming and funding. And so with something like this, with starting Viewspire as kind of an offset of Viewpoint Psychology and Wellness in partnership with Nikki, and then on top of that, having programming such as this upcoming event that you're doing, how much more effective do you find, and Nikki, you can also chime in on this as well, do you find that these kinds of activities and these kinds of approaches are, how much more effective do you find them to be in helping patients deal with their mental health struggles and find solutions that help them lead a happier life?
It's kind of a long question, but at the end of the day, right now the therapists and the psychologists within the Lakes area, Commerce, Walled Lake, everyone's incredibly busy and everyone's really trying to help each other. There are a lot of times where someone feels like they have a mental health issue and sometimes they feel like they have to go see someone or go to a clinic, but it's not always necessary. Sometimes it's just having that community connection or understanding that there's alternatives and knowing what those are as opposed to going into an office. And so for us, this is, again, just a way to make those connections and allow people to introduce themselves to community members and participate in activities that, again, can help mental health. I don't know if you want to add anything to that.
Yeah, I think, with the clinic where I work, Viewpoint, we're such a collection of like-minded individuals. I think we really understand that the the field of work that we do, I think we're seeing as time goes on, and especially in this past year, like we need to innovate. Like we have to find other ways to deliver this kind of stuff and to engage people. They need it. We hear it everywhere, right? Like the buzzword of mental health, and we see it, all over the place in the news. And even just clinically for me, I know that the suicide rate in Oakland County is not great, and especially in this past year is really, really concerning to me in particular for our youth. So it's really just a matter of, yes, I think people do respond. Like it's kind of like it's cheesy, but like if we build it, they will come. Like we need to start getting creative and putting some things out there and see what works. Yeah. We're not afraid to do that.
And I know time is short, but kind of in conjunction with this, I have to give a huge shout out to Ken Gutman and Walled Lake Consolidated Schools. They have just been absolutely incredible in helping and assisting in this process. And the same thing with Larry Gray and Commerce Township and Oakland County. They have all helped us with this event. They've all participated. And what that tells me and tells us is that the community at large does want to help, and it doesn't necessarily have to be in a clinical setting. So if we can make impacts this way, then we're going to continue to do this now and into the future.
Well, Glen, Nikki, we appreciate having you on. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. You can find more information on Viewfest 2021, October 9th, 2021 at Walled Lake Central High School, 11 a.m. to 7:30 p.m. More information on that at shopviewspire.com. That is going to do it for this week's edition of the Oakland County Megacast. We want to give a big thank you to all of our guests throughout the weekend, including on today's show, Ashleigh Larkin, the new principal over at Sheiko Elementary, Cooper Schoenberg, Carter Lutz, Ethan Wise, and Mitchell Greenberger, who are from the Student Section podcast. We appreciate having them on as well. Dan Carmody from Eastern Market Partnership, Nikki and Glen, as well as all of our crew here at Civic Center TV and the Megacast. We'll return next week, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 12 noon. This has been the Megacast.